Hello, and welcome to the Global Maritime Symposium here on Freightwaves Global Supply Chain Week. I'm your host for today's segment. My name is Steve Ferreira, and I'm CEO of Ocean Audit, a ocean freight refund consultancy based in Hartford, Connecticut. Today's topic is extremely near and dear to my heart because it cuts down right to Americana, containerization, supply chain, distribution, and the whole 9 yards with an expert that really can pull it together for our entire audience. As a matter of fact, today's segment is titled Supply Chain Green Shoots, Doing It the Right Way. And it's WRIGHT for my illustrious guest, President of UWL, a leading American-owned NVOCC, Duncan Wright. Duncan, welcome to the stage.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate the intro. Not heard that right joke before, so very original.
That came to me like 5 minutes before camera time, so I hope you don't mind me throwing that in. That's way to go. And I just want to share with my audience, I've known Duncan for a while now, and, Duncan is a luminary in the trade. He's, as I said, at UWL, Duncan is a top 15 American-owned NVOCC based in Cleveland, Ohio. You're involved in 3PL, distribution. You've got vast experience working in the Trans-Pacific. You even worked for my old alma mater, Sealand. I don't know if you knew that, but we're ex-Sealanders together. And you've got the experience at UWL and at Horizon and CSX, the rail. But Duncan, one of the things I most admire about you is your creative thinkership, if that's a word, your out-of-the-box ability to be creative and to combine that with a tech orientation, which I think really helps you matriculate your relationship building, not only within your external client base around the United States, but also with your internal customers. And I want to talk about that in a second. But first of all, welcome again. It's great to have you.
Very much. Appreciate the kind intro.
Well, there's a lot to cover, and in this segment today, covering supply chain green shoots the right way. You've done it the right way, and one of the things I'm duly impressed is, and we've talked to, of course, we've got our headliner Gary Vee. We've talked about branding. We've talked about relationship building. We've talked about content building. But I'm damn impressed with the way that you've taken the industry by storm and using video to communicate both intra and extra UWL. Can we just spend a little time talking about, I know it's COVID and post-COVID and you're looking for the right edge, but how did you come up with the concept to do so much video shooting, almost to the point now where you have your own video team internally? Talk about that.
Yeah, if you saw my setup here in our HQ, it's the lighting set up like something from a Hollywood studio. So, there's no hiding behind email here at UWL and the World Group. We very much are all becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable in front of the camera. And, we try to follow a culture of transparency, not just for our customers, but also for our employees. And all our financials and our annual and quarterly goals, we all get on film, we talk about them, we do roundtables, all on camera, and we have a local video company comes in almost every week now. And obviously COVID drove this initially because we weren't able to travel so much, but actually found it to become a really powerful tool. And I think a lot of the things that we now have in place post-COVID are going to remain, and it's certainly been a productive way for us to reach all our employees.
Well, I just think it's tremendous because, the morale factor, we've talked about that, you and I, several times about, professional men and women sitting around their homes and our beautiful shipper and consignee external customers out there that are, feeling the burden of COVID and, especially moving into more e-commerce structures, getting away from brick and mortar structures. So I think it's like, forgive the pun, but it's almost like the early bird gets the worm here. How did UWL become an early adopter in using some of these techniques like video and then, maybe even some of the technology tools that you're using to help keep your customers abreast of all the developments?
Yeah, I think, speed of information now is the new currency with the impacts of COVID, the congestion issues, the fact that a lot of our information in this industry, unfortunately, is still not I would say it's still not completely compliant or standardized across all the ocean carriers globally. We came close with companies like DCSA that are trying to bring it all together, but you're only as strong as your weakest link from a customer perspective. So, we've really tried to drive some change around that area and focus on getting the information to the customers using a few different methods. Like we tried to get more involved here. Our sister company has 1,400 drayage trucks, so we are definitely spearheading North American initiatives on that. And then also we track the vessels themselves, don't rely on traditional carrier EDI, and focus on tracking airplanes and such. So,
yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I remember back not so long ago, I invested some 6 figures into an EDI audit scheme that I wanted to bring to Ocean Audit, and I quickly mothballed it. You and I are so in sync with the fact that the carrier EDI, the whole process on the 310s and the 315s, it's just not ready for prime time. I love all the initiatives, and I say it with peace and love, but I think it's been extremely smart what you've done to move slightly away off the mark of where everyone else is trying to chase. And I think your technical savviness, helped you to lead the charge on that. So, I mean, my hats are off. And I think, when you look at what you've done in tracking and tracing and communicating the modules that are really important to today's client, it goes hand in hand with, there's like a fork and a knife, right? And in your case, you're not just a traditional NVO player, you're also into the warehouse kingdoms, and one of the things I've just been so darn impressed with what you've done, Duncan, is can you talk a little bit about, I know you built a Savannah warehouse recently. It was huge, 600,000 square feet. It's all occupied. I know you're working on New York. And these are so exciting initiatives because as we move into that e-commerce mode, I think it gives UWL a real leg up. So talk a little bit about the vision on the warehousing and kind of how you co-opt all the pieces together.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. We are in a very, I would say, exceptional period of change and opportunity, I guess, for the 3PL community in the warehouse space. Yeah, we're up to over 500,000 square feet in most of the major port markets on the East Coast and continue to expand that. And as you said exactly, the shifts in e-commerce is, and the traditional RDCs of the retailers which sit in inland locations, that whole model has been really turned on its head.
Yes.
And the customers are looking for more and more solutions which put warehouse product nearer the populations, tied to the e-commerce demand, and also the increase, obviously, that they have in safety stock needs based on the complete unpredictability of the global ocean environment right now.
One of the things I love about, talking to you, and, we're so simpatico in terms of our love for the industry. We talked something that you brought up and not a lot of NVO leaders or freight forwarding leaders have brought it up to me is the whole issue of transloading. I think that, as you start to move the box in different ways and you start to get creative, and we'll launch into contracting in a second, but I think that one of the things that UWL does pretty well is, finding alternative ways and almost like real niche ways. And forgive me for saying this, but in some ways, the way that you niche out or scope out a solution for a customer, the price points that you're getting are fair and they're making sense for the services rendered. But at the same time, margins are what it's all about. Can you talk a little bit about maybe just the way that, you've rolled out your differentiation to the client base? I think that would be important for my audience.
Yeah, really, it's the core to that comment is, the World Group, we have a lot of assets in our network. So we own and operate the buildings, the drayage component, and these are areas now of great risk for our customers. So what we do is we obviously link those together. So we have our own drayage handling our warehouse moves, our forwarding moves, and then trying to provide these alternate solutions to customers in other port markets. We can quickly help them adapt. Most mid-sized BCOs or shippers today will, traditionally use the LA region, Ontario, Chino, those types of areas to distribute to their customers across the country. And we're able to quickly offer the East Coast solution to that, and also looking into the Gulf and finding alternate ocean services that also help support their distribution needs. So it's such a complex problem now that we believe we've got the actual physical skin in the game to be able to really help those customers with these dynamic shifts we're seeing, and the need for flexibility on their supply chain. And that's the fundamental shift we're seeing here.
And I will say, as somebody that's done a lot of marketing with my own business, I would say that you're headquartered in Cleveland, Ohio. Is that correct?
Yep.
And I
actually
think that
in a little town called Rocky River on the west side of Cleveland.
Okay, in the Cleveland suburbs, and
Yep.
I think it's been my findings that small and mid-market sized customers in that whole geographic area, plus or minus 500 miles from where you are. I mean, it's a hell of a population zone. And at the same time, it's my humble opinion, those clients have not in the past got the same type of service as, say, the clients in LA or in Miami or in Savannah, because the inland client, I think, it demands a little bit more handholding, a little bit more of that niche touch. Let's talk a little bit about and Maersk has come out and said, hey, we're Maersk, we're looking now at the smaller client because, that's where our margins are. But yet, you're dancing in that market and you're doing quite well. How do you go about customer acquisition? And to you, is there one right size, pardon the pun again, that makes sense for the UWL family to have as a client?
Well, there's never really one right size, and this industry has taught me that the second you think you know what your perfect customer is, a new one shows up and new opportunities happen. We have customers today ranging from, top 10 retailers all the way actually down through to, the local fellow here. And, generally what they're needing is they're needing access to capacity right now. They need access to expertise to help them navigate tariff and the complexities around changes on that. I'm not even going to start on 2021 contracting, but suffice to say... Oh,
you're not getting away that easy. That's coming up in 2 minutes.
I think almost every major BCO this year, every major shipper at every size is going to be looking to have an NVO in the mix. And we're seeing them, coming to us on a regular basis, the larger shippers needing access to different services and routes. So it's a very dynamic and complex environment. And a company like us that's big enough where we have we have the tools and the investment, but also small enough where I personally get involved with every client and I'm accountable and I give them direct access to myself and my leadership team to be accountable for communication and to make sure that we're providing a great service. So to your point, the inland piece, a lot of the big global forwarders and carriers, they've closed down their presence in these smaller markets. And
that's my point. Good point. So we're going to launch in 15 or 20 seconds into kind of the money shot here. Everyone wants to know about contracting and they want to get, the big picture from the right guy. Again, there I go. But before we go there, tell me, summarize what we've talked about so far. What would you say are outside of the ocean rates and the contracting, what are the three main elements that BCOs need to really keep their eye on for 2021? Let's leave contracting alone right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we have a huge shift in global containerization right now. We have a container problem, right? We have an infrastructure that's struggling. We have from a macro, standpoint, we have a huge shift in consumer demand. A lot of companies forecasted drops in demand when COVID hit, and the consumer almost went in the other direction. So you're going to have to be having a very, very close look at your distribution models, your carrier contracts, etc. I mean, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle for a shipper.
Okay, so let's talk contracts. All right, I'm going to do a role play with you here a little bit. I'm going to just say, Duncan, let's say that you're on an airplane and you just got lucky enough to sit next to Jeff Bezos, although he's, leaving Amazon. And Jeff says to you, oh, so, you're an ocean guy. You're an expert in this kind of genre. What are the three best things that you would tell me to do at Amazon with my contracts coming up, Duncan? How do you respond?
Well, company like Amazon specifically.
No. Let's leave the size of it. I'm just talking about generically. How would you respond to what a client might say? What are my three best tips?
Well, I think this year we saw issues around equipment shortages, access to bookings and space, and now we've got the added problem of complexity of congestion issues. So my big three things I would home in on is make sure you have an NVOCC in the mix and you give them regular cargo, because that will give you access to, for example, we have around 1 million TEU of contracted access to space with our colo partners and direct contracts. It just gives the shippers more flexibility. That's number one. Number two, have a hard look at your MQCs, especially on the smaller lanes where you may only have 50 or 100 containers, because I think the carriers are going to squeeze on those. And you may not see that regular, MQC divided by 52, and you certainly aren't going to have the ability to, to handle your peak season in ways that you maybe have traditionally. So I think you'll see a shift there. And then also I think you have a very, very close look at what free time allowances you're going to have, and also the negotiation of free time when you move under FAK, because that's another missing piece that a lot of companies aren't looking at, is there's different free time allowances by the type of contract cargo you're moving, whether it's moving on the open market through an NVO or through your carrier contracts. So those are three big areas that I think need to have a look. And of course, tying back to that warehouse and as you said, Steve, the transload and cross-dock side of the business, add different port pairs and look at adding some different port access points to your supply chain as soon as you can, because
sure.
We don't think the LA congestion issue is going away anytime soon.
I agree. And give me two 15 or 20-second sound bites on two other comments I'll make about contracting. Do you think contracting will be more short-term contracts in duration?
I don't think we'll see a fundamental shift in the contracting. The carriers have done a good job of managing and marketing their rates with their persistent GRI program. What I think you may see changing is PSS, for example, may disappear peak season, and you may be replaced by some kind of premium product or premium element in the contract. That's something that may happen this year. But I think the duration of the contract, the carriers like to push that surplus volume into the forwarder market, because obviously the rates on the open market are right now or double or more than their contracted rates. Sure.
And then the last question about that as we wrap up is, do you think contracts will be more enforceable or have more bite and teeth to them this year than others?
Well, we're dealing with a carrier alliances that are obviously global in nature, and subrogation and arbitration is done in foreign countries. It can be difficult to fully get the legal protection you would expect. But, there's not a lot of control in the States anymore, something that was very different from the days when you and I were in the ocean carrier side, where, Sealand, APL, and previously US Lines were definitely leaders in terms of, how to service the customer. And so I don't know how enforceable it's going to be. Wow. We will have to see how the FMC or possibly other government agencies get involved.
That's a very, very, very interesting way to end our discussion. I like that comment, and that's something I hadn't considered, and I think you're spot on. And Duncan, I just want to tell the audience that what a great conversation that we've been having today with Duncan Wright, president of UWL. A great NVOCC headquartered in Cleveland, Ohio. And it's just been an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show, Duncan. How do our followers and our colleagues watching you today get in touch?
Well, I'm getting more and more engaged on LinkedIn. I'm pretty passionate about some of the challenges the industry faces, and particularly the plight of our shippers. So, please follow me on LinkedIn, or feel free to reach out to me directly on my email at d.wright@ship.uwl, and I look forward to hearing you. And we're happy to engage with customers of all sizes to help fix your problems and help with solutions.
Well, Duncan, it's been an amazing conversation today. I want to thank you for gracing the Freightwaves virtual stage here during our Global Ocean Maritime Congress. From the set of Global Ocean Maritime Congress 2021, I'm Steve Ferreira, CEO of Ocean Audit, host of Freightwaves Navigate B2B. We'll see you on the next round. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Steve. Bye-bye.